Laughing aloud now, magic in the air. Wands roll around us, cast away our care. Friends in the hallways, adventures we find. Spells and enchantments, trouble on our mind. That's so wizard, life is a spell we know. We're casting joy and glow, that's so.
Hasbro hit with a massive lawsuit? Hasbro becoming their own competitor? Something, Elon Musk. It must be Wednesday. It must be time for another episode of That's So Wizards. That's So Wizards is filmed live in front of a studio audience consisting of Steve the Cat. Good morning and welcome. Thank you for joining me, my fellow nerds. Happy holidays. It's about 8:30 in the morning on this, the 4th day of December, 2024. Time to get your Christmas shopping in. It's about 70 degrees and weathery here at Site B. Let's jump into the Wizards of the Coast Hasbro news of the week that may or may not involve some guy named Musk. Of course, the big story that hasn't been getting as much attention as it should, shame on you, Hasbro, is Hasbro was hit with a massive lawsuit because apparently they were being a little less than honest regarding certain numbers. Now, this is available public knowledge on the website Bronstein, Gierowitz, and Grossman, LLC, law firm out of, I'm going to guess by this picture, New York. So this is a class action lawsuit that's been filed against Hasbro. It regards the damages against the defendants for alleged violations of federal security laws on behalf of all persons and entities that purchased or otherwise acquired Hasbro securities between February 7th, 2022 and October 2023. Hey, that's me! Throughout this period, the defendants claimed that apparently they were false and misleading statements and omissions about the quality of inventory that Hasbro held, and represented that its rising inventory levels reflected outstanding and anticipated demand rather than excess supply that outpaced waning demand. Blah, 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 yakety schmackety, legal, numbers, math. For those of us who don't speak legal, what does that mean? Oh, we got a comment already. Hello, good morning. Regarding their production store, Rule Lawyer is upset at Elon and Trump for some reason. So not about the OGL tobacco. Probably it could be traced back to the OGL tobacco in some way. But no, this has to more deal with saying we have an amount of stock versus the actual amount of stock, and then justifying why so much stuff is sitting on the shelves gathering dust. So Hasbro said one thing, and based upon that information, investors like myself, who, at one point in time, I had 10 shares of Hasbro stock, sold off some of it, as you guys know, made their investments based upon what Hasbro told them. So Hasbro said, blah, blah, blah. And then the shareholders, investors, and stuff like that said, oh, based upon what I just heard, I'm going to do blah, blah, blah. And then a year later, it turns out that Hasbro was not quite as honest as what they said they were. Yes, it is. It's exactly why so much stuff is showing on the shelves at Ollie's now for way below retail because Hasbro got caught with their pants down. What do you mean? Well, you guys told us that these were being sold. They are being sold a year ago. They were sold a year ago. No, they weren't. Look, we're Hasbro, and I think we know what we're talking about. No, you don't. So is this bad? Is this bad for Hasbro? Will it affect the legendary purchase of Hasbro by Elon Musk? Which, guys, face it, stop it. It's not going to happen. Well, let's check the stock today. Right now, the stock is up. Despite this announcement, the stock is up at $70.32 a share. That's $2 more than where it was yesterday and $20 more than where it was a year ago. But it is still below what I purchased it at. And when I sold off my half of my shares It's still below where it was when I sold off my shares. So it's still below where it should be because I bought it at $100 a share. And right now it's $70 a share. So if I sold my remaining shares now, I would be losing, $50 per share, which, I don't have that many shares, so it doesn't really mean that much. But when you have hundreds and thousands of dollars invested in shares, that amounts to something. And if you're purchasing those shares and investing based upon numbers that Hasbro's giving you, and then it turns out those Hasbro's are incorrect, that's costing you money. And then you're like, oh, well, I guess I have to sue you because you lied. And then Hasbro has to go, no, we didn't. And then there'll be a bashing of heads of lawyers and attorneys and backwater deals. And then eventually Hasbro will say, okay, here is a lump sum so we don't have to go to court. And then people who bought stock like me will get one of those little form letters in their emails or whatever going, if you feel you were blah, blah, blah about the blah, blah, blah about Hasbro in this time period, you might entitled to a percentage of the class action suit. And then you have to go through all the thing of filling out the class action suit and proving that you did have the stock at that point in time. And then if you're really, really lucky, a year from then, you get a check for like $1.50. So will this affect Hasbro's bottom line when the Q4 numbers are released in late January, early February? Yes, it will. Oh, no, but Hasbro's doing nothing but making money. D&D is doing nothing but making. Oh my God, Pops. Wow, hi, Pops. If you guys haven't checked out Pops, this guy's freaking awesome. I was on his channel twice, and oh my God, so much respect for this days. Yes, excellent. The only ones who will make money off of this are the attorneys. Thanks, Pops. Thanks. Great to see you again, buddy. How come you haven't invited me back? So yeah. Jason Turner, blah, 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 blah. Yes, he should have. We will get to Jason Tundor momentarily because that's just a thing that isn't ending. So if you were a stock shareholder and you did purchasing and investing during that time period, you should check out this lawsuit. Link down below. If you haven't received an email from these guys yet, expect one sometime between now and February. Moving on. Certainly there's something going on in the world of Hasbro that's good news, right? Oh, wait, no. What is this? Archetype Entertainment is publishing Exodus, a tabletop role-playing game based upon the Exodus video game, and it's being done through Wizards of the Coast Archetype Entertainment, because Wizards of the Coast is claiming they own Archetype Entertainment, as opposed to the truth, which is Archetype Entertainment is an independent contractor who is licensing through Wizards of the Coast to produce the video game. Specifically, it's not Wizards of the Coast that's producing the video game. It's Hasbro Digital, which, as we know, is currently under the Wizards of the Coast umbrella. So Hasbro can claim Wizards of the Coast made all this money, when in fact it was, no, digital video games made all the money. But you can claim Wizards of the Coast made all that money to justify all the money D&D lost. And then the Wizards of the Coast shills can go, look how much money Wizards made. You're totally wrong, OSR. So they're making a video game. We don't know anything about what system the video game / role-playing game is going to be based on. We don't know if it's going to be 5e. We don't know if it's going to be a different system. We don't know if it's going to be the system that this role-playing game that the guy wrote. This is by, of course, the Archetype Entertainment people, who is... what was his name? Blah, blah, James Olin. So he had a video game. He created a company to make video games and role-playing games versus his Arcanum Worlds imprint. And then Wizards and Archetype Entertainment kind of joined up, even though Arcanum Worlds is a separate entity, blah, 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 yakety schmackety, legal stuff, publishing stuff, whatever. So it's going to be a sci-fi video game that deals with space colonists fighting against other space colonies, and it will involve some time travel shenanigans because that always goes well. Mind you, there already are, I think, at least one, if not several hundred video games that use the name Exodus. So they might have to be a little careful there. And there's probably at least one, if not several tabletop role-playing games that use the name Exodus, so they might want to be a little bit careful there. If the plot sounds really familiar, human spacers versus human spacers, and there might be time travel involved. I don't know, just because it's probably just exactly the same plot as The Expanse. But who knows? It could be different. Anyways, it means that Wizards of the Coast is making a new tabletop role-playing game that will be direct competition to Dungeons & Dragons. And it's the first time we've made a non-Dungeons & Dragons video game / Dungeons and tabletop role-playing game in like 15 years, guys. As long as you don't count the role-playing games that Renegade Press is making, or all the role-playing games that the third-party subordinates are making that are posting on D&D Beyond. But as long as you ignore that, and as long as you ignore Renegade Press and the Power Rangers, G.I. Joe, and Transformers role-playing games, we haven't made a role-playing game that's not D&D in over 15 years. So our first foray into not D&D video game role-playing games will be a space game, because consistently we have shown how well we handle our space games, or any game that isn't Dungeons & Dragons. Look at the success of all the games we've made since we purchased D&D that weren't Dungeons & Dragons. Just look at them. Look at those successes. Success after success. In fact, let's name them off. Let's name off all the tabletop role-playing games that we've made that have been successful since we purchased TSR and Dungeons & Dragons. They include Eberron, yeah. Will this be a success? I think people will buy it thinking it's a science fiction expansion to 5e, and then go, oh, wait. This isn't 5e. This isn't D&D. I can't use this stuff as my D&D game. Unless it's a 5e adjacent product. Fuck Spelljammer. We made a real space game. Anyways, I don't really trust Wizards of the Coast design team to produce anything that will in any way, shape, or form change the paradigm. But what about the possibility that the design team is going to change, OGGM? What about the possibility of this never-ending story of Elon Musk riding down on his white horse to save Dungeons & Dragons by buying Hasbro? As long as you ignore all the other times Elon Musk has said, I'm really, really upset and X, so I'm going to buy them, like the video game companies and the music companies. And as long as you ignore how well he has shepherded Twitter, and as long as you ignore how well he has shepherded the Tesla company, yeah, those Tesla trucks are really safe on the road. I mean, they're perfectly safe as long as they don't like hit anything. And, yeah, he's doing a sort of okay job with his space program, but will he get us to Mars? Do we want him to? The question isn't, will he buy it, won't he buy it? It's, do you want him to buy Hasbro? And do you think by him buying Hasbro, it will change? Now, a lot of the conservatives who are now Elon Musk fans are like, oh, yeah, he's going to change it because he's conservative. Trumpy, no woke, bah. But let's not forget that a few years ago when he was liberal, you all hated this motherfucker. But now that he's conservative and Trump's best his buddy, you're like, we love this guy. And because he's conservative and because he said something, we know that he's going to buy Hasbro and make D&D better. Now, as we discussed previously, assuming in some weird wackadoodle universe this actually happens, why do you think he would make D&D any better than it is? Remind you that most of you hate D&D and hate 5e and won't have anything to do with it. What do you think he would do? Best guess, best possibility is he'd just hire other people to make the decisions regarding the company. It's not like he's going to quit SpaceX, quit Tesla, and quit his position in the government to go, you know what, I'm going to go to Boston and start running this toy company. No, He's going to hire other people to do it. And occasionally he'll say something to push the press, to get some attention, you know. And then he has to trickle down through all the IPs that Hasbro has their fingers in and deal with all the legal and financial stuff with all of those, plus inheriting the huge deficit that Hasbro has right now. And then he would have to trickle down all the way down to Seattle Wizards of the Coast and Texas Wizards of the Coast. Because, hey, don't forget, there's that Texas branch of Wizards of the Coast. I know we forget about the Texas branch Wizards of the Coast because unlike the Seattle branch of Wizards of the Coast, those guys are smart and never actually do anything to attract attention to themselves. Yay, Texas Wizards of the Coast. So then he would hire somebody whose job it would be to run that part. And then he would hire somebody whose job it would be to go to Wizards of the Coast and clean house. Now, does that mean he'd replace the entire workforce of Wizards of the Coast, which at this rate, I think is 3 guys and a mouse? No, he'd probably get rid of Crawford. He'd maybe get rid of Perkins. He'd probably get rid of maybe some of the other idiots who don't really do anything like Mackenzie and Todd. But the rank and file people who are actually just producing the content, both digital and physical, why get rid of them? They're doing the job perfectly fine. It doesn't take a rocket scientist, see what I did there, to make Magic the Gathering. Frick, my 9-year-old niece could make Magic the Gathering at this point. No reason for him to change Magic the Gathering. It's perfectly fine the way it is. It is literally an engine to produce free money. So would he change the tabletop role-playing game aspect? Would he say, okay, make a 7th edition version of this game and make it reflect, I don't know, what these guys want it to look like? Which I guess you want him to bring back AD&D. You want him to change the rules so they're not as superhero woke. I don't really know what it is you think he's going to do to D&D to save D&D. From a shareholder point of view, sure, stock might rise, but then it'll just trickle back off because it's based upon what the company produces. And if all our concerns are Dungeons and Dragons, what do you think he's going to change? What do you think he's going to do to save D&D, to save Gygax's legacy? Because Gygax's legacy is owned by Troll Lords Games, not Wizards of the Coast. All Wizards of the Coast owns is Greyhawk. The rule set for Dungeons and Dragons is public domain. As long as you don't call it Dungeons and Dragons, you can produce anything using the OGL Strength, Dex, Con, Intelligence, Wisdom, Charisma build, class-based Gygaxian fantasy. Because in case you've forgotten, there are already 5,000 D20 retro clones in print as I speak. 5,000. So it's not like him going, I'm going to bring AD&D back is going to change anything, because most of you already have at least one, if not several hundred, Gygaxian level-based D20 fantasy games. So other than the branding, what do you think Wizards is going to change? Because he's not going to change the name. The name Dungeons and Dragons is huge. He wouldn't change any of the things that Dungeons and Dragons, the brand, is connected to, because that's huge. Why would he stop that? That's money that's coming in that he doesn't have to invest energy in. Is he going to change Power Rangers, Transformers, or G.I. Joe, or Furby, or Nerf, or Play-Doh, or the board games, or the video games, or the production company, or the movie company? Furby's making millions. Why would I change that? Peppa the Pig is making millions. Why would I change that? Magic the Gathering is making me millions. Why would I change that? The video game shit is making me millions. Why would I change that? This D&D Beyond thing where they have to pay me every month to get a subscription, and then pay me every month for every product they buy, and then pay me every month for all the DLCs? That's genius. Why would I change that? Oh, maybe he'll change the way people perceive Hasbro. So instead of the right being at being angry at the leftist Hasbro. It would be the left being angry at the rightist Hasbro. And at the end of the day, Hasbro would still be Hasbro, and Elon Musk was going to be going 1 million, 2 million. Oh, I'm sorry. You wanted me to change something? I'm too busy doing government shit. I hired somebody to do that. I don't know what he's doing. So yeah, it's not going to change. But at least we can, on the bright side, the D&D stuff on Amazon is marked down incredibly right now. So if there's any 5e product you haven't got yet, now would be a great time. And also, it'll be on the shelves at Ollie's and probably even as I speak. So if you're lucky enough to live someplace that has an Ollie's, I don't know where that is, but I think it's mostly Midwest. You could just walk in and go, oh, look, here's the player's handbook for $5. So that's just what we can come to expect. As for Wizards of the Coast changing the battle plan that they have been unbelievably perfectly clear about consistently since 2020, that's not going to change. Even if Elon Musk buy it, it would take months, if not years, for him to finagle with all the mechanics to get it to change in any foreseeable way, because Hasbro / Wizards of the Coast has been setting this plan in motion and working on this plan since 4th edition. You think you would accept that by now, but you got so excited about his little troll tweet that like, yeah. And all Hasbro had to do was say nothing. And their stock shot up. And then let's just have this Jason Tarndo guy say a couple stupid things and he can become the focus of all your negative attention. And while you're focusing all your negative attention on him, you could ignore everything we're doing behind the scenes to fuck up Dungeons and Dragons even more. And as we get to the end of the 50th anniversary, I will remind you that we still do not have an official 50th anniversary Year of the Dragon t-shirt. The simplest thing Wizards of the Coast could have done in February to combine the 50th anniversary with the Chinese New Year, Year of the Dragon. Brilliant, easy as pie, licensed to make free money, make an official 50th anniversary Year of the Dragon t-shirt. Everybody and their dog would buy it, even people who don't play Dungeons and Dragons 5e right now, just because it's awesome. But that's not what they did. Instead, they made Dungeons and Dragons 50th anniversary official beef snacks and Dungeons and Dragons 50th anniversary official beard oil. But that's so Wizards!
Laughing aloud now, magic in the air. Wands all around us, cast away our care. Friends in the hallways, adventures we find. Spells and enchantments, trouble on our mind. That's so wizardful. Life is a spell we know.